Hello, I'm Ray. Today I will be talking to you guys about the portfolio that I used to apply to art school and displaying it. This is a year old, almost a year old by now, so I have grown a lot as an artist, so this is not perfect by any means. But I thought it would be helpful because this is the type of video that I watched a ton of when I was applying and they were helpful to me. So yeah, I applied to 8 art schools, and I got into all of them with a scholarship. I applied to them in either a major in painting or illustration, depending on which school and which program I liked better. Sorry about how squeaky my chair is. And I will be attending Pratt Institute with a major in painting and a minor in creative writing. So yeah, I'm gonna show you guys the portfolio I used to submit to Pratt just because that's the school I'll be attending, but most of my portfolios were very similar. I submitted 15 pieces, and one thing that I think there's a lot of videos about, but about the order of your portfolio, the way that I chose to organize mine was I had sort of an intro piece, and then I did a bunch of my studies and my less conceptual work and more just technique and skill-based stuff, and then I slowly moved on to my conceptual pieces, and showed a little bit of my process for my conceptual pieces and then some like full finished pieces. And personally, I did choose to end with what I felt like was my best piece. So yeah, it's kind of weird to look at now, given how much I've grown as an artist since then, but it is really fun to see where I was when I was submitting to art school. So yeah, I'm just going to go through the different images, and I'm also going to read most schools have you submit your portfolio to Slide Room. I think there were 2 schools that had their own system, but either way, you do have to write like a little description and talk about the medium and stuff, and so I thought I'd give you that description, just because, I don't know, I feel like it might be helpful because I was kind of stumped on what to write for each one. So I'm just going to include that in the image, so if you want to pause the video and read the description, that's fine, but I'm just going to give a little summary of each piece as I go through them. So the first piece that I submitted was a Hello, My Name is sticker with my name fingerspelled. It's a digital piece. It was an assignment for my art class of just to like introduce yourself to the class, and it was a fun little idea I had. It was from, I did use my own hand as like a model. So it was drawing from life, which I thought would be helpful. The next piece is another study that I did. It was a hand study. I did it on a different material than usual. I did it with transparent acrylic over a wooden palette that had already been used, so like over dried paint, and I sort of let the colors that were already on the palette shine through the skin tones because I thought that would be neat. And it was fun to combine sort of just a study with something a little bit more fun and different. Yeah, and then the next piece I did, it was a pretty simple clothing study. I just did it in my sketchbook with different textures and stuff. I probably should have written a description for all my pieces, but there were a couple ones like this that I didn't write anything for, which I definitely should have, and in hindsight that's definitely something I would do. The next piece that I submitted was a collection of a bunch of figure drawings done in a live figure drawing class. They're all, in this set, they're all clothing studies, so they were done when the model was in like costumes and fabrics and stuff. They're pretty old. They were from 2019, so they're even older than a lot of my other stuff, because that's when I had the opportunity to do it, and I thought I would include it. Same thing for these next figure drawings that I had. These are all gesture drawings from drawing from life from nude models and figures, and they were pretty quick studies, but I thought some of them turned out pretty well, and so I just compiled them all onto this one image and submitted that. Those were both in charcoal, which is what a lot of figure drawing classes are conducted in. I'm really excited to get a lot better at figure drawing during my time in art school. Next, I submitted these contour drawings of, it was the same guy in different poses. These were done during COVID, so I was not able to attend live classes. There is some like online figure drawing resources that I use that are like professional resources. I do not love these at all now. I didn't really love them when I did them. I like doing the contour work for like clothes, but I feel like on a figure, like it just looks sort of boring and odd, and like mapping out the shadows. Though that was the focus of it, but it just looks a bit empty, and like there's some proportion issues with like the head and the feet are too small, so that was sort of frustrating. But I included it because I didn't have any other figure drawings of men, or I didn't have many other figure drawings of men, so I wanted to show that I knew how to do it. Next, I submitted 2 other figure drawings of women. These are a lot more well rendered. These are also not from life. They were from one of the online resources that I used, but I was really happy with these. I think I should have grounded the top figure, but the bottom figure I added a little bit of loose stabilization to like ground the figure. So I still think these are a pretty good showing of what I can do looking at the figure for a longer time, but also they weren't done from life, and you can definitely tell that. But I think with COVID, it's a lot different than if I hadn't made an effort to go somewhere. I couldn't, so I don't think that would have been too much of an issue. But I do think definitely if you do have the resources in your area to go to a live figure drawing class, that's super beneficial. The next thing I submitted was a planes of the face study. I did it in graphite. I also did not write a description for this, which I definitely should have done. But it's basically just working with value and with the planes of the face. It was pretty simple. But yeah, I don't love the background. There should have been more variation to the tones, but whatever. I think it shows that I can render with graphite. And I didn't use any like blending stumps or anything, or like a chamois rag. I just like blended with the graphite pencils themselves and using different hardnesses, and so I think that was really fun to learn, and you can sort of see the different textures. Yeah, and it shows, I think that was the only graphite piece that I had, so I wanted to show that like I could use it. Next I included some bird studies that I did. They were originally for like a project that I did for an online pre-college program, but I didn't love the finished project, but I did like the studies that I did. So I was taking animals and their silhouettes and like just sort of analyzing them, and yeah, so that was fun. I thought I would include that. Next is the piece that I hate the most. I don't know why I included it. I wanted to do something a little bit different than what I normally do. So I decided to do art on the back of a jacket. The photo I took of it is terrible. I hate it very much. I don't love the finished piece, but I think it is good that I showed that myself doing something that I don't normally do, but I also don't like it. So the idea was sort of to combine like a tree with these embroidered fish and buttons, but just from any further away than like looking right at it, it's really hard to tell what's going on, and I think I'm not the best at embroidery. So yeah, I do say it was experimental, but it is pretty conceptual, or at least it's a more conceptual piece than what I had showed previously, so I think it at least shows that I was experimenting with that. But I also, in hindsight, kind of regret including it, or at least I should have, if I really wanted to include it, I could have taken a better image, but I was sort of strapped for time on this piece. So yeah, learn from me there. Next, I included a finished digital piece. I remember when I went to an online portfolio day, a lot of people really liked this piece. They said that for a digital piece, it didn't show, like, I know art schools generally don't love to see a bunch of digital pieces, but I think since it was one of the few that I included, and it showed some techniques that could be directly applied to like drawing physically with like traditional materials, a lot of places said that they thought that it was a good addition to my portfolio, so I did include it. I'm still pretty happy with this piece. So yeah. The next piece were some planning pages that I did. I really love these still. I actually have updated them and made them look more interesting since then, so I kind of am like, ooh, they're not like their final form in these images, but whatever. They were planning for my AP concentration pieces, which I the 3 that I had completed at the time when I submitted my portfolio. So I sort of explain my sustained investigation a little bit and just show that I can do some planning. And then also has some little like fun illustrations with them. Next is titled Yellow. It's from my AP concentration. This, I'm pretty happy with this piece. I don't love the face, or one of the hand, whatever. I like the piece overall as an overall impression, but I get really picky about like little bits. But it was the first full oil piece I did. And I remember when I finished it, I was super, super proud of it. So remembering that was really fun. So yeah, I submitted that, especially since I wanted to major in painting, just to show some actual paintings. Next, I submitted my blue piece, also my concentration. It was a watercolor piece that I did. I'm pretty happy with this piece. There's always things that I would want to change, but I do think that it was a good addition to my portfolio as being an actual painting and showing, both of these show sort of my conceptual ability with like blending surrealism with my art, but also they definitely show a lot of like, hey, I can draw the figure, I can paint the figure, I know how shadows work, I know how form works. So yeah. And then lastly, the piece that I showed was my strongest piece at the time. It's still one of my favorite pieces I've done. It's orange. It was done in colored pencil. Yeah, and then each of the descriptions for these, I sort of describe what I was going for, because they were each describing different emotions. And again, it's a little bit surreal. And so yeah, I thought that this is one of my strongest piece at the time, and I definitely wanted it to be like what they remembered me by. So like the last piece, okay, you know, we saw all of what she can do, like this combined skill and conceptual ability, and it just is a very impactful piece. And so I wanted to make sure like when they thought of like Ray Flores, they were like, ah, that piece. So yeah, that was it for my pieces. It felt like a lot, like when I was making it, I made a ton more pieces than this. That's always some good advice. Make like 30 pieces, try to make as many pieces as you can, because not everything is going to turn out exactly how you want, and then you can just include your favorites. I think I should have made even more pieces than this, but again, COVID was happening and time was not on my side. But I really did put as much effort as I could possibly put into my portfolio, and I really do think it did pay off, even though there's a lot now that I would do differently. So yeah, that was my portfolio. I hope that helped you out at least a little bit. Again, you can pause and read the descriptions if you want some advice on how to format those. But yeah, that's sort of it. I hope it helped someone a little bit. I did recently get my AP art score back, so I think I might make a portfolio video on that. It does include a little bit more of my recent art, which is nice, and it's a lot less of like studies and stuff. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions about applying to art school in the comments. I am an open resource. I'd love to help. And yeah, like the video if you liked it. You can feel free to subscribe. I'll definitely be making a lot more content about art school and art in general. If you want to follow me on Instagram or check out my website, that's also below. But that's sort of it. Have an amazing day. Bye.